Alright everyone, welcome back. So, we continue on now with our power rankings for January of 2024. The first month of the brand new year has passed, and now it's time to get into the power rankings. So, little things to keep in mind here. This is solely based off of this month, mainly. There are some factors that I take into consideration with these. I do factor in their overall record throughout the season. So, that's why you don't see, the Rangers had they had a really good month last month and they were first, and then they had a really bad month and now they're 30th. So that doesn't happen. I try and not move teams more than 10 spots. Sometimes it happens, but I try to not move them more than 10 spots. But regardless, you're not here to talk about that. Let's get straight into the rankings. So number 32 should not come as a surprise to anyone, besides the fact that it is a new team. It's the Chicago Blackhawks. Now, even though I'm saying that, it shouldn't surprise you. They went 3-11 in the month of January for a 14-34-2 record overall. So with Chicago, again, there's not a whole lot to say. I've made my fair share of videos on them. You just look at the team. Bedard's hurt. He got out earlier in the month. Obviously, there's that. And then, of course, too, they're looking to move players at the deadline, maximize their profit, even though they've signed some guys like Jason Dickinson and such who look like they could be, veterans that stick around with this team. It's just only a matter of finding players that play with Bedard, which might not be too hard after this season, depending on who's interested in going there. There have been some rumors, but obviously we will find out there. But Chicago, number 32, really shouldn't surprise anyone. Number 31, however, is the San Jose Sharks. The Sharks had a 5-7-2 record in January for a 14-32-5 record overall. So, overall, San Jose, I will say this about them. They have the effort. They bring the workload every single game. This is going to be a month where a lot of the guys are probably going to get moved, so it may be pretty bad after this year's deadline. However, if you're San Jose, you want to focus on the future. Even though the future is not looking all too great for a little bit here, I definitely think that after a few more years of building this core up, they will become a very solid team again. But yeah, San Jose, another team that should not surprise any of you. Number 30, however, I'm getting ahead of myself, is the Anaheim Ducks. The Ducks this month went 5-7-2 in January for an 18-30-2 record overall. So, again, another decent record there, but still, another team that is near the bottom of the NHL, so that's where they're going to be on the power rankings overall. Anaheim, I thought, had an okay month. There's things that look positive, but again, there's things to improve on. Now, it's looking like Adam Henrique and Frank Vatrano are your most notable players who are probably going to get moved at this year's trade deadline, which is not a problem whatsoever. You would probably want that if you're Anaheim. But definitely, there are guys on this roster that you look at and say, yeah, they're probably going to be gone after this month. So, depending on where Anaheim heads, they're most likely, they're almost definitely going to be sellers. So the hope is just that, they improve the defense next season and they just start focusing on next season after the deadline. But yeah, overall, Anaheim, just kind of where they're supposed to be. Number 29, another team where they're supposed to be, is the Columbus Blue Jackets. The Blue Jackets, they went 4-6-2 in the month of January for a 16-24-10 record overall. So yeah, overall, Columbus, again, in the same spot where they're supposed to be. They're not playing too well right now. There's issues. Fantilli's injured. I think a lot of it, too, and I've said it in the videos, is just the blue line. You want to improve the blue line. You want to focus on that. And they've also said that they're looking to move maybe big guys like Provorov and even Patrick Laine, potentially. So maybe Columbus is saying that we want to clear house. So maybe that's what happens. Who knows, to be honest. We really don't know as of right now. Number 28 is another team here that might surprise some of you. I have the New York Islanders at 28. This might be a little bit of a stretch, but I feel like with some of the teams that are below the Islanders, played pretty well this month, and they deserve to be above the Islanders. The Islanders went 3-7-3 in the month of January for an overall record of 20-17-12. Yeah. Overall, just the Islanders did not have a very good month. Just low scoring, just couldn't put the puck in their net. Sorokin, not struggling necessarily, but definitely just not playing too well. And then I think Patrick Waugh coming in is going to help. I watched the win last night against the Leafs. Obviously, that didn't count against this, but they played pretty well, and they played a pretty well-rounded game against a very solid Toronto team. So I look at that game and I say that, yeah, I think there's some teams that are above them that should be pretty worried, because I feel like under this Waugh roster, they could win some games down the stretch. So I'm not expecting the Islanders to be 28th. I think they could be a team that moves up really far this next month. Number 27 is the Ottawa Senators. Again, another no-surprise team there. Ottawa went 6-7-2 in the month of January for a 20-25-2 record overall. I'd be pretty positive with this month overall for the Senators. Even though that, there's still some negative points, there's still some things to improve on. Under Martin, they're starting to look pretty good. They're 6-2-2 in their last 10. They haven't lost in a while. So I'm really hoping that continues for Ottawa. I would love to see Ottawa back in the playoffs, and I'd love to see Ottawa have some success. But even though it's probably not going to happen this year, and we may see some guys get sold off, I have enjoyed the way Ottawa's played this month in some of the games they played. So hopefully that does continue. Number 26 is the Minnesota Wild. Again, another team that should not surprise any of you. This is the last team, though, that really shouldn't surprise any of you guys. The Wild, they went 5-8-1. Took me a second to find them in January for a 21-23-5 record overall. Yeah, Minnesota, again, I say the same things when I talk about the same teams. The Wild, just defensive woes, injuries. The goaltending has been iffy at points. It does look like they're going to try and move Marc-Andre Fleury at the deadline. That might be what happens. But obviously, we'll find out there what goes on with him. But yeah, overall, Minnesota just trying to get through it. Focus on the draft. I guess there is a chance where they're still mathematically in it, but just right now it isn't looking too great. Number 25. This is a team that kind of dropped a little bit here. It's the Arizona Coyotes. The Coyotes had a very disappointing month, in my opinion. And they need to have a much better February. Absolutely. The Coyotes went 4-8-1 in January for a 23-22-3 record overall. So they're still above 500, which is a surprise this late in the season for Arizona. However, there have been stretches during this month where I have been very disappointed with this team. They're struggling to score. They're struggling to find consistency too. That's the biggest thing with this Arizona team. They are struggling to find the consistency that they need to win. And it just annoys me as an Arizona fan. Am I happy with the progress? Yes. I'm very happy with how this team's played overall this year, but I want to see some consistency. Because, again, I say it in every single video that I talk about them. They'll win 5, they'll lose 5. It's just repetitive. It's a repetitive pattern that needs to stop. So, yeah, overall, Arizona at 25, they have a much better month. I don't think they should really sell, not aggressively anymore. They aren't a team that really should be selling at this point, where they are in the rebuild currently. Number 24, this is a team that has dropped a lot and has had a very bad month, and it's the LA Kings. They are 24th in my power rankings this month. The Kings, they went 3-8-5 in January for a 23-15-10 record overall. Yeah, LA's had a brutal month. That's really all we can say about it. They fired McClellan. I'm hoping that this month, though, is a much better turnaround for this team because they really do need it. I think that they went from a team that McClellan was a Jack Adams candidate. Now he's fired. They go from a team that was doing pretty well heading into the new year. Now they're a wild card team, and they're battling with Seattle and Calgary, who are above them on this power ranking for a playoff spot. A playoff spot. That was unthought of last month. So it's just crazy to think how LA went from this to that in the span of 1 month. Now, again, the Oilers winning 16 straight games obviously doesn't help that. But still, I need to see a much better month out of LA. I do. It looks very disappointing, and I think that the pressure's been turned up in Los Angeles too, because Rod Blake said publicly, I'm willing to face repercussions of if we miss the playoffs or if we struggle this year. He has said that. So I definitely think that the amp has been turned up here for the LA Kings. Number 23, however, is the Buffalo Sabres. The Sabres had a pretty solid month, even though they find themselves about 10 points behind the next team in that Atlantic Division. They had themselves a pretty decent month. They are 7-4-0 in January for a 22-23-4 record overall. I am, again, very unoptimistic with Buffalo. I don't think they're going to do too much. I do feel like, though, they kind of are gearing up for a really big month ahead. I feel like they could go on a big winning streak with that month they just had. I think it's possible. Again, it's too late. It's too late in the season for them to do anything, unless if Detroit and Toronto keep struggling, which Detroit isn't, by the way. It'd be just Toronto. Like, you need to hope those teams struggle, and you need to have like a 10-game winning streak practically. And you need to have those teams to not get a lot of points over the course of that 10-game winning streak. So the odds are not in Buffalo's favor at all. It's not looking so good for them. So definitely, Buffalo just get wins, I guess. Focus on the deadline. We'll see what amounts of that there. Number 22 is a team that I'm concerned with. It's the New Jersey Devils. The Devils have concerned me a lot through a lot of these stretches. The Devils, they went 5-7-1 in the month of January for a 24-20-3 record overall. Now, I put an asterisk next to this because it's injuries. They're dealing with a lot of injuries. However, so is the entire league. I understand that a lot of what the problem is going to be lied on A, the injuries, and B, Lindy Ruff. However, a lot of teams deal with injuries. It's not just the Devils that deal with injuries. A lot of teams are getting injuries right now. So, definitely, especially down the stretch, too. Like, a lot of teams are going to get hurt. So, definitely, there's a lot of that lies on the Devils. I think that if they miss the playoffs, I think in any circumstance, they probably fire Lindy Ruff when the expectation for them was probably Stanley Cup or bust with this roster. If they miss the playoffs, that is a huge disappointment. And I mean, it's probably going to be Lindy Ruff that sees himself on his way out. Is it entirely his fault? No, but definitely some of it relies on him. Number 21 is the Nashville Predators. The Predators had a meh month with a 6-7-1 record in January, a 26-23-2 record overall. Nashville staying in it. They're still in a playoff spot. They're still there fighting with St. Louis, who had themselves a pretty good month. We'll get into them in a little bit. But overall, I think Nashville, I think they should just focus on having a better month. They shouldn't be sellers. I don't believe they will be. They might sell a little bit. I know Saros' name is going to be brought up because that's just how it is right now with Nashville. Saros' name is going to be dragged around a lot. But overall, Nashville, just focus on having a better month. Focus on getting those wins and head towards a playoff spot. I think that's really what Nashville wants right now with that team. Number 20 is the Philadelphia Flyers. The Flyers went, they had a pretty mad month. They went 6-7-1 in January for a 25-19-6 record overall. Now, the Flyers were very bipolar in this month. They had a stretch where they were bad. They had a stretch where they were mad. They had a stretch where they were really good, and then they had a stretch where they were bad. So, overall, just a month of a lot of different things for Philadelphia. And it was a very eventful month, too, because Cutter Gauthier, that trade happened. Drysdale comes in. You had Carter Hart get arrested for the sexual assault allegations, which, by the way, I think at some point I'll make a video just talking about what we know in regards to that. I won't speculate a lot, but we'll just talk about what I know. And then the Tippett injury happened as well. So I think a lot of those factors played into a very meh month for Philadelphia here. I do feel like, though, I don't think this is a fluke. I think they are going to turn it around in this next month, but it all starts tonight in Florida. You need to get that one out of the gate and keep going with it. So definitely, I'm intrigued to see how Philadelphia handles this 5-game losing streak because I've said it's going to be interesting to see how this team reacts to something like this because we haven't seen something like this at all this season. We've seen some losing streaks, but nothing like this. So definitely Philadelphia, hopefully they turn this around and they start getting better from here. Number 19 is the Calgary Flames. Even though the Flames sold at the end of the month, they are number 19. They went 7-6-0 in January for a 22-22-5 record overall. I thought Calgary had a decent month. There's just points where you can tell that the roster it's just not good enough. You can just tell it's just not that great, and you can see that they're gonna move their guys at the deadline. Lindholm got moved on January 31st. It looks like that It looks like that Markstrom could get moved. Hannafin's going to get moved. There's names out there. I'm sure Calgary's getting a lot of calls right now with some of their players. So definitely I expect for the Flames to move more of their guys, and that probably will see a decrease in their list ranking in the next month power rankings. So expect that, Calgary. But yeah, that's all you want to focus on right now. However, they did play decent this month. Number 18 is the Montreal Canadiens. The Canadiens had an overall record of a 4-5-4 in January for a 20-21-8. Now, the next two teams are teams that did not play a lot this month. These are two teams that kind of didn't really play that much, so I didn't give them that harsh of a record. I thought it'd be fair that since they had A, 500 records, and B, they didn't play a lot, to put them generally in the middle. So I thought that was pretty fair. Montreal, one of those teams, they show some signs of positivity. They show a lot of work, but you can tell they aren't there yet. They just aren't there yet overall, and that's understandable. But I think Ken Hughes and St. Louis, I've said this in videos for Montreal, they should be very happy with the direction that they're going in, and overall, they should just be very happy to keep moving along in this rebuild overall. So, overall, from the Canadiens, I'm very happy where they are right now. Number 17, the other team that did not play a lot this month was the Pittsburgh Penguins. I thought it'd be fair to put them here because, again, it's the halfway mark, and I figured that was a fair enough thing to do. The Penguins went 4-4-3 in the month of January for a 22-17-7 record overall. For Pittsburgh, it's all about getting points. You want to get as many points as you literally can. That's what you want if you're the Penguins, because they have found themselves, they're behind. They're not far behind, but they're still behind some of those other teams, and they need to start getting some wins here and some points if they want to make the playoffs this year. I think they can definitely do it. I think they're a good enough team. It's just going to be a huge month for them because it will determine whether or not they trade Getzel. I don't think they will, but there's a strong chance if they go, let's say 5-7 or like 3-8 in this month, there is a good chance they will trade Getzel. So it's a big possibility. I do think some of the rumors we hear out there maybe not be true. And a lot of things we hear too, what people don't realize is they're not targeting these players. The insiders are suggesting that they might target these players. It's not saying that they are currently. It's saying that they might. It's just a big thing. And then the contracts too are apparently they've never happened. The offers never even happened. So just overall, it's a whole kerfuffle with Pittsburgh right now. I put them at 17 because I feel like it's where they deserve to be since they didn't play a whole lot this month. Number 16, however, is the Washington Capitals. So a few metropolitan teams here in a row. The Capitals, they went 5-7-1 in the month of January for a 22-18-7 record overall. I mean, Washington, there's been a lot of talks where they might sell this year. I don't really know what they would sell, but it's looking like they might. Just right now, Washington, they look like a team that can work hard. Again, they win a lot of close games. They lose a lot of blowouts. So, it just it definitely seems like this team is probably not a playoff team. I feel like we know what our playoff teams are going to be, unless if teams in that metro start losing a lot. It looks like right now the teams that are going to make the playoffs are probably going to be the teams that are in it right now, unless if one of those teams has a really bad month again. But yeah, Washington, just get points if you want to try and make the playoffs. I think they should moderately sell, not aggressively sell, moderately sell, and then I think everything would be fine. Try and get some draft capital there, get some young players in the system. I think that would work out overall. Hershey's doing very well. I saw that in my AHL series. They have a very good team, a very strong goaltending system. So definitely, Washington, just focus on building that up while trying to stay competitive, if that's what the direction they want to go in. Number 15 is a team that at one point was first in the power rankings. I have moved them to 15th because I think that what they've gone through is unacceptable. They need to start turning it around now. The New York Rangers are 15th in my power rankings this month. The Rangers, they went 5-7-2 in the month of January for a 30-16-3 record overall. Now, again, that's not that bad of a record. Really is not that bad of a record. However, the Rangers need to just get it together. They are getting enough points to where Carolina's still behind them in the standings, but if they keep slugging like this, they're eventually going to just lose it. It's not good for a team to go like this, where they go really far ahead at one point in the season, and then they just turn it off. They're just like, nah, we're just going to ride it till playoffs. It's hard to turn it back on. So you need to just stay the course, keep going. I understand the President's Trophy curse is there. I don't think players think about that, but you just want to keep going. You want to keep showing 100% throughout the entire season, not just go 100% and then go 50 through the rest of the year. No, you need to just stay 100% through the whole season, or else this team could be another first-round exit. That's really what could happen. But hopefully the Rangers have a much better month than they did this month. I didn't want to punish them too much because, again, they were 1, then they were 3, then they were 5. But still, this was a very disappointing month overall for the Rangers. Number 14, the Seattle Kraken. The Kraken were a very streaky team this month. They had a win streak, they had a losing streak, and then they just started doing everything in between. Seattle this month went 7-5-1 in January for a 21-19-10 record overall. So yeah, Seattle, they're getting enough points to stay in the hunt. They're not that far behind the Los Angeles Kings, so they are definitely in the stretch there to compete. But yeah, Seattle just want to keep winning games, keep going at where they're going. I don't think they'll be sellers. I don't think they will sell. I can't see a player they'll moderately sell, or I don't think they'll buy either. I feel like they're probably going to be a team that kind of just stays put, more or less where they are right now. But obviously, I'll talk about that more in the deadline videos, which we'll release after this. So the Kraken just focus on getting some wins and start competing, trying to get higher in that Pacific Division. Number 13, I thought this team had a very good month. They feel a little bit out of place here with some of these other teams, but I thought they had a really good month. It was the St. Louis Blues. The Blues played really well. They had a 8-4-1 record in January for a 26-21-2 record. So after a pretty mad December and firing Berube, bringing in Bannister, the teams played pretty well under Bannister, especially during a lot of these stretches. Binnington's looked good. The offenses looked good. The defenses looked good. It just stinks because right now it's the deadline, or else I would make a video on them. But this month needs to be all deadline videos. So stay tuned for that. I think I'm going to even upload one today after I make this one. So definitely stay tuned for those. But St. Louis, they're playing well. I feel like they honestly shouldn't be too, they shouldn't buy into this that much. I think they should moderately buy, and then if they start falling off in February, moderately sell. I think that's really where they should be right now. I think that kind of makes the most sense for this team. But yeah, overall, I feel like the Blues had a really good month, and they're deserving to be 13. They are. Number 12. This team, even though they had a good month, does have their issues. The Toronto Maple Leafs are number 12. They are 8-4-1 in January for a 25-14-8 record overall. There are things that need to be improved on. There are games that they don't look all too great. They do need to improve on some numbers. This is a team that definitely, they need to have a much better February. And already last night against the Islanders, it did not look that good. And I think that if they keep going this way, if they fall to become a wild card team, I think that we might see Keefe get fired at some point. I don't know if we see it now, but definitely we're going to see it at some point if they fall to a wild card spot and even worse, lose. Because at that point, you're playing either the Rangers or the Bruins, and that's not a good sign there for the Toronto Maple Leafs overall. So definitely, I want to see a better month out of them. Number 11 is the Vegas Golden Knights. Now, Vegas, I think that a lot of their factors do play with injuries, but again, other teams have injuries. Vegas, they won 8-5-1 in January, so again, not that bad. For a 29-15-6 record overall. Now, Vegas, another one of those teams that had a really good first half of the year, and then they kind of seem to turn it off a little bit. Now, not all of that's on them. They've had some injuries, and I feel like they've kind of turned it back on in this month. But definitely, like with Vegas, I need to see a better month. I need to see another good month before I move them back up into the top 10. But I think they are a team that can win. I think they're a team that can go back-to-back. I just don't see them doing much of the deadline, if that's really me being honest. Number 10 is the Dallas Stars. The Stars had a pretty solid month. They went 8-4-2 in January for a 30-13-6 record overall. Not too bad. Now again, with Dallas, I said this in a lot of my TikToks, a lot of my videos, that I don't really know what Dallas is going to be this year. They could be a first-round exit. They could be a Stanley Cup winner. I honestly don't know. They kind of switch from year to year. I do think, though, this is going to be a really hard push for them this season. They may heavily buy at the deadline. I haven't seen a whole lot of guys they're interested in, but I feel like that is something that very well could happen. And I would expect to see that with the Dallas Stars overall. Number 9 is the Detroit Red Wings. The Red Wings had a very good month. From a December that looked awful, they had a really good month of January. The Red Wings went 9-2-2 in January for a 26-18-6 record overall. Very good month. The team looks great, even with Patrick Kane being out. Larkin looks good. DeBrincat looks good. Daniel Sprong looking like a really good acquisition. Alex Lyon, a guy who I've loved for years, is putting up great numbers in net. Definitely, they deserve to be a playoff team right now. They look really fun, and they deserve to be a playoff team. They're tied with Toronto. They look like they're going to move up into that third spot potentially at some point. They look like a really good team. And I'd be very excited to see this team back in the playoffs because, again, my girlfriend's a fan of the Red Wings. It'd be really nice to see this team go into just make the playoffs. It'd be awesome to see. So, yeah, I really hope they keep going like this, and I hope that they have a really good February. Number 8, the team that they would probably play if they moved into the third seed spot, the Florida Panthers. The Panthers went 9-2-2 in January for a 31-14-4 record overall. The Panthers, I thought, had a very good month. I thought they played very well. There's going to be some big decisions to be made. They look like they might want to they want to buy in, but they don't have any assets to. So they probably will stay pat mostly at this year's trade deadline. But yeah, they need to sign Reinhart. Obviously, needs to happen. But overall, the team looks okay. The team looks good through a lot of these stretches, and I think that they have a really solid chance at going for a second run at a Stanley Cup. And I'd love to see it. This is a team that, again, proved me wrong a lot at points this season, and I'd like to see them back in the playoffs and making a run for a cup, because I think it'd be fun to see two Florida teams in the span of me doing this coverage on YouTube win Stanley Cups. I thought that'd be pretty cool. Number 7, the other team in Florida, is the Tampa Bay Lightning. The Lightning went 9-3-0 in January for a 27-18-5 record overall. The Lightning, I talked about them in a video right before the All-Star break. They added themselves a very good month, and I think that teams should be very happy with the overall stance of where the Lightning are at right now. Again, will they do anything at the deadline? Probably not. They don't have a lot of assets to really do much anyways. So definitely the Lightning, they're in a really good spot right now. They should be very happy with what they're doing, and definitely I hope that it keeps going, because I like to see them go for it again. Now, this may be the last year of that, because Stamkos needs to get extended, and then their cap space might be limited. They might have to move some guys out. So definitely we could see some things happen in the offseason, but right now they're focused on going for one more cup. Number 6 is the Colorado Avalanche. Again, another team that shouldn't surprise anyone. The Avalanche went 9-3-0 in January for a 14-3 record overall. The Avalanche, again, another pretty good month. They're just playing the way they need to. McKinnon looking like a Hart Trophy winner. There's really nothing much else to say there. With a lot of these top teams, it's pretty much just saying the same things. The Avalanche, again, another really good month out of them. Hopefully that continues. Moving into the top 5 now, you got the Boston Bruins at 5. The Bruins went 9-2-3 in January for a 31-9-9 record overall. Even with the midseason struggles that they had in December, I feel like they turned it around and did really well this month, and I think that's deserving of some credit. They looked very entertaining at a lot of points this year, and I definitely hope that with Boston continues. They look like a really solid team right now, and I think that it's going to continue. They look very entertaining. They really can't do much at the deadline. I haven't seen a lot of players are interested in. The only guy I saw them interested in was Elias Lindholm, but obviously, that's going to change because, he's obviously been traded now, so they're not interested in him. Number 4, I have the Carolina Hurricanes at 4. Carolina went 8-2-1 in January for a 28-15-5 record overall. Carolina really turned it up this month. They had a very good month. And I think that's deserving of some credit. Carolina, even though they struggled a little bit in December, they struggled a little bit in November with those road trips they had. Now they're done with those, and they look very entertaining in this stretch. And I do think that's going to continue, because Carolina, very fun team. I think they need to figure out their goaltending, but I think that I honestly don't know. Like I said it in the division video, I don't really know what Carolina's goalie is going to look like. Again, it's probably going to be another one of those instances where they try and run a triangle. That may happen. We'll find out. Kochetkov shown some promising signs, but again, we really don't know right now. But yeah, the top 3 of this power rankings for this month are all Canadian teams. I thought that was very interesting to give a comment on. Number 3 is the Winnipeg Jets. They went 8-3-1 in January for a 30-12-5 overall record. The Jets look great. They went a stretch where they didn't allow more than 3 goals in a game, which is absolutely insane to go through. They went 35 games. That is unbelievable. In today's NHL, too, where you see a lot of goalies in the NHL, throughout the entire NHL, through a lot of these teams, they have really high save percentage or really low save percentages, really high goals against averages. A lot of teams are scoring nearly 200 goals a season. You see Winnipeg let in less than 3 goals in 35 straight games is very impressive. Now, even though in the last half of the month they kind of started falling off a little bit, but that was a part of injuries. Their team's fully healthy now, and I'm expecting a very good February out of the Winnipeg Jets. Number 2, people may not like this because they went undefeated in the month, but they're not number 1. I understand that, but again, it's the gradual climb in these months' power rankings. I think that if they have another really good month, they'll be 1. But just right now, the Oilers are number 2. They went 11-0 in the month of January for a 29-15-1 record overall. As of tonight, they play Vegas, looking to tie the NHL's longest winning streak record, which is something that is very impressive overall. Again, they will actually be the first team as well that will see their deadline video posted. So if you're Oilers fans, you might want to look at the channel notifications that you have if you have your notifications turned on, because I may have already posted that video when you see this. But yeah, Edmonton, they're playing really well. There's not much else to say. They're in a 16-game winning streak. We'll see where it goes from here. I think everything that was negative in the months previous have become positive. So definitely, I'm looking forward to see how Edmonton does in February. And number 1 is the Vancouver Canucks. They went 10-1-2 in January for a 33-11-5 record overall. There were points where, again, this looked fake. People said that, oh, this is a fake stretch they're going on in Vancouver. It's not. It's 100% real. What they're going through is awesome. They acquired Elias Lindholm at the trade deadline. The team as a whole looks awesome. And definitely just overall, they look like a really solid team right now. And acquiring Lindholm tells us that they want to keep Pettersson in town and they want to show him that they are here to win. So that concludes this power rankings for the month of January 2024. Perfect, around 32 minutes, so 1 minute for each team. That's nice. Anyways, thank you all for watching. If you enjoyed, make sure to leave a like. Hit that subscribe button down below. I greatly appreciate it. But anyways, I will thank you all very much for watching, and I will see you guys in the next video. Adios.